Have you heard that the FBI uses women as bait? What a terrible idea. Facing such an absurd provocation, Starling retorted, "In the top of my class at the University of Virginia in criminal psychology." This made the dean furious, his expression as if he just bit into a lemon. As they reached the deepest part of the underground cell, the dean confidently warned them not to pass any pencils or pens, not even paper clips or staples. Their security was tighter than a UFO conspiracy. All of this was because of a slip-up a few years ago when Hannibal almost turned a nurse into a hamburger. The dean said this was just to scare Starling, like toying with a kitten. But Starling wasn't scared at all. He insisted on a private meeting with Hannibal, claiming it would help his psychological study. It was like someone facing a big tiger and saying, "I'm not afraid of you." And yet, people claimed he was trying to scare and toy with him. What a mess. The camera panned, alarms blared, and they seemed ready for an emergency, like a supermarket announcing a sale. In front of them were some truly insane serial killers, some all creepy smiles, others hung their heads low, and a few lay against the bars. The last one was a total package. Was he trying to scare, or was he just a terrifying monster? At their first meeting, Hannibal thought it was all just a game, and it relaxed Starling, who was as fresh as a loaf of bread out of the oven. This sparked Hannibal's desire to engage, leading to a psychological control experiment, a fusion of tech and humanity. Hannibal first asked to see Starling's FBI badge, just like a kid asking to see a toy. As they stepped closer, Starling felt like he was being pulled in an irresistible force that could make him go in the wrong direction. The psychological tug-of-war felt like a cat and mouse game, the tension so thick you could hear a pin drop. Then Hannibal casually mentioned that the badge would be ready in a week, like a crow singing in his hand. What a move to break the sense of authority, forcing the other to adopt the role of a student. Starling's candor earned him a chance to keep talking, truly a let it go when you can moment. Hannibal, like a hawk watching a mouse, spotted the cheap perfume Starling was wearing through the bulletproof glass, ruthlessly piercing through his elite disguise. That remark instantly demoted Starling from FBI agent to observe prey. How embarrassing. But he held his gaze and quickly shot back, "If you're so good at analyzing others, why not analyze yourself?" Those words felt like saying, "Don't you want to see what skeletons you have in your closet?" Starling's straightforwardness kindled Hannibal's anger, turning psychological pressure into a fear of defeat. This made Starling realize he faced not just a psychologist, but an immoral expert at reading people. This psychological test failed miserably in utter display of embarrassment. As Starling walked past the adjoining cell, a patient unexpectedly tossed a peg head at his hair. Such a crude act was a challenge to the elegant order Hannibal had just established flawless. He roared for Starling to come over and apologize for the rude behavior of the patient next door. Hilarious. As Starling exited the asylum, his defenses crumbled, recalling his father's heroic sacrifice as a cop. This was the most vulnerable part of him, making him the perfect prey for a psychologist. Reportedly, even the famous psychologist Freud said that untreated trauma tends to repeat. So interesting. Little did he know, this was exactly the psychological trap Hannibal had crafted. Afterward, Starling composed himself and focused on investigating the patient Hannibal mentioned, Moffat. At that moment, Starling's supervisor, Crawford, called him. He told Starling that the patient next to Hannibal, after chatting with him, had committed suicide this morning by eating his own tongue. Starling was completely shocked and couldn't quite digest it at the moment. Crawford asked how the investigation was going, and surprisingly, Starling had actually found out about Hannibal's patient, Moffat. He discovered that Moffat owned a self-storage unit, but oddly enough, Hannibal was paying the rent. This aroused Starling's suspicion. He rushed to the warehouse, only to find female mannequins. And there was a female head floating in formaldehyde, an actual murder scene. This major discovery had Starling racing back to find Hannibal, asking whose head it was. Exactly how does this connect to the case of Buffalo Bill? Seeing Starling was somewhat clever, Hannibal transformed back into a master of words, offering 2 clues. First, the victim was a man who loved wearing women's clothing. Second, the killer was the victim's boyfriend, who likely changed his appearance. When Starling tried to continue and ask how this related to the Buffalo Bill case, Hannibal changed the topic abruptly. "You know, I can't give you my drawings anymore. The dean said so." What a weird situation. At this time, Buffalo Bill had locked in his next skinning target, and the good show was about to unfold. Shortly after, he disguised himself as an injured limb, cleverly luring unsuspecting prey. What a generous soul. Once he lifted the sofa into his car, the killer suddenly attacked, knocking the girl out, confirming whether that fresh skin was usable. One crisis after another, a woman stripped the skin found in a WV town ridiculous.